Hello, and welcome to our webinar, Spring Adult Faves. I'm Susan Maguire, Senior Editor for Collection Management and Library Outreach for adult books here at Booklist. Before we begin, I'd like to go over some technical details. Links to today's slide presentation and title list were included in the reminder email you received from Zoom 1 hour ago. To download them, please open that email, scroll to the bottom, and click on the links located there. You can also download the slides and title list by typing the URLs on this screen into your web browser. If you have any trouble accessing these materials, please contact us at webinars@booklistonline.com. The audience is in listen-only mode, but we welcome any questions you may have. On the bottom of your screen is a toolbar with a button for Q&A. If you have a question or need technical assistance, simply click Q&A and type your message into the box that appears. We will do our best to respond to all tech-related questions, and we'll pass along all other questions to today's panelists so they can follow up with you after the webinar. Booklist offers closed captionings on all webinars. To enable or disable captions on your screen, please look for and click the captions icon on the toolbar mentioned earlier. From there, you can select show or hide captions from the menu that appears. If you choose to enable subtitles, you can adjust the size of the captions at any time by selecting caption settings. And finally, Booklist expects all participants to maintain an atmosphere of respect and fairness. Anyone who violates this standard of behavior, including engaging in any form of harassment, may, at the discretion of the organizers, be immediately removed. Today, we have the pleasure of hearing from Mary Van Aken, Executive Director of School and Library Marketing, and Aaliyah Burke, Brand Marketing Manager, both with Macmillan Publishers; Annie Mazes, Associate Director of Library Marketing at Hachette; Megan Brown, Publishing Assistant at Page and Vine; Golda Rademacher, Library Sales and Marketing Director for Norton and Co, and Margot McCoy, Library Marketing Coordinator with Macmillan Library Marketing. First, we'll hear from Mary Van Aken and Aaliyah Burke. Mary Van Aken is the Executive Director of School and Library Marketing at Macmillan Publishers. Aaliyah Burke is Brand Marketing Manager at Macmillan Publishers. Thank you for joining us, Team Macmillan.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for that introduction. We are delighted to be joining you today. Just going to begin my screen share. Okay. I am so excited to dive right into previewing some of our most anticipated reads coming your way this year from 23rd Street Books, Balzer and Bray, and Farrar Straus Giroux.
Hi, everyone. I'm Aaliyah Burke. I'm the Brand Marketing and PR Manager for 23rd Street Books and First Second Books, a graphic novel imprint. Well, 23rd Street Books is a graphic novel imprint launched last year with a focus on bold voices and boundary-pushing stories for adult readers. You'll notice that a lot of the titles I'm sharing today come from 23rd Street as they reflect what we are really excited about as a list. These are graphic novels that celebrates ambition, experimentation, emotional depth. They're perfect for longtime fans of the format, but these are also very effective in welcoming new readers who may have never picked up a graphic novel before.
I'll kick things off with Mrs. Orwell, one of those graphic novels we were just talking about from the 23rd Street list. Barely a day goes by when I'm not thinking about the book 1984 lately. And while most of us are really familiar with George Orwell, aka George Blair, I'm sort of ashamed to say that before Mrs. Orwell, I was completely ignorant about the fascinating life of Eileen Blair, an artist in her own right and George Orwell's wife. Together, their life is so biopic worthy. From a honeymoon fighting fascists in the Spanish Civil War to a narrow escape from Stalin's agent and an even narrower escape from the London Blitz, the Blairs' unrelenting campaign against totalitarianism makes for a must-read introduction to the greatest threats in the 1930s that are, as we know, feeling ever present today. But what really ensnared me about this book was Eileen's own internal life and the ways in which she was so intertwined with all of the greatest thinkers in the 30s. In the spread you see here, we see her interacting with Professor Tolkien, yes, of Lord of the Rings, sharing with his class the line that eventually, became world famous, thanks to the trilogy and the films. We do not choose the times we are born into, we choose what to do with the little time we are given. And it's this energy that infuses Eileen's life as she works to preserve her intellectual voice within a marriage that threatened to consume her in times that were deeply, deeply scary. Recommend this book to any reader looking for inspiration from the past or for those readers who flock to re-examined histories.
Next, I'll be going over Martin Luther King, a memoir of love, race, and optimism in a time of denial. Martin Luther King is a wild, brainy, prophetic, cyberpunk graphic novel from Saul Williams, who you may have recently most seen in the movie Sinners. The story opens in an East African mining community where coltan, the mineral that powers our phones and computers, is extracted at enormous human cost. At a time when we're constantly watching governments debate power, borders, surveillance, who gets protected and who gets sacrificed, this story feels especially pointed. From there, Williams creates a mythic origin story of a hacker known as Martin Luther King.
Is everyone else lost, Aaliyah, or is that just me?
Immersive visual art and sound. It deepens the story's dreamlike, otherworldly tone. The book is playful and angry at the same time, but deeply political and also funny, surreal, and surprisingly warm in its overall vision. It tackles big questions about technology, power, and who pays the price for progress, but it does so with lyricism, inventiveness, and a sense of wonder that makes it a genuinely engaging read. I'd recommend this to readers who gravitate towards politically engaged, speculative fiction, cyberpunk with a conscience, or anyone looking for a graphic novel that doesn't only entertain, but also actively wrestles with the system shaping our lives right now in modern times. Next up is Everything in Color, and I actually just got this one in the mail, so I wanted to show you guys how big and nice it is. Everything in Color is a deeply personal, tender graphic memoir from Stephanie Salvi, whose autobiographical, comics began circulating online in 2020 during COVID. They quickly resonated with readers searching for language around intimacy, identity, faith, and many readers shared that they actually have brought her comics into therapy sessions as a way of expressing the feelings that they couldn't quite articulate themselves, which speaks to how deeply seen this work makes people feel. The book grows out of that same emotional honesty. Raised in a strict evangelical environment defined by certainty and restraint, Stephanie traces her journey towards a fuller sense of self through transformative romantic relationship and the experience of motherhood. At its heart, it's a true love story, romantic, familiar, and self-directed, but about learning how to live with tenderness and truth. Visually, the book is especially striking, with the art moving in and out of color as Stephanie's world expands, mirroring her shift from black and white way of seeing to something richer and more emotionally open. The result feels intimate and deeply lived in, echoing the coming of stage tenderness from Lady Bird, the humor and spiritual questioning of Fleabag, and the intimacy of Blankets, and self-reckoning found in Fun Home and Educated. It's a story about leaving the rigid past behind and discovering a world that is finally full of color. Next is Claire and the Devil, Volume 1, which is a dark, quietly strange story of seduction from Olive Blake and Lil Humura about temptation, desire, and the thrill of stepping just past the life you are supposed to want. Clara lives in a sleepy seaside town with a devoted boyfriend and a future that feels perfectly reasonable, if not a little too neat. Then a beautiful stranger arrives at the library she works at, calmly introduces himself as the devil, wanting a library card, and everything Clara has carefully contained begins to unravel. What follows is a simmering summer of longing and unease where attraction feels dangerous, curiosity feels electric, and every choice carries a quiet sense of consequence. The collaboration between Blake and Homura is effortless and intimate. It's a result of a partnership that they have cultivated over the years. Homura has actually been crafting the official character art for Blake's books going back to her novel, The Atlas Six. For the viral trend where you posted, what you were up to in 2016, they posted their first text together saying, we should do a book or something. And we're absolutely obsessed with what it inspired. The Art is lush and atmospheric, all shadows and glances and charged silences, pulling you into a world that feels both romantic and faintly wrong in the best way. As Ali Hazelwood, author of The Love Hypothesis, puts it best, this book is visually stunning, dark, sexy, and just the right amount of weird. A story that invites you to watch someone given to temptation and discover what surrender might cost. This is perfect for readers who enjoy stories of romance that make you slightly uncomfortable in the best way and who don't mind rooting for desire even when they know it might end badly.
We are also so excited to share the series finale of the mega best-selling The Adventure Zone graphic novel series. This series is adapted from the insanely popular podcast of the same name, and which we launched way back in 2014, and it's still going strong today. If you can imagine, at the time we originally published this, there was some question about what level of interest there would be in a graphic novel series for adults about Dungeons and Dragons. Flash forward 8 years and 7 New York Times bestselling books later, and we're so proud to publish the seventh and final book this year. In case you're new to this series, each book is an adaptation of one arc of one overarching D&D campaign with three brothers and their dad. But you don't have to love D&D to be invested in the adventure they embark on. If your library hosts a D&D club, perhaps on the heels of the success of Stranger Things, recommend this series to them. If your patrons love a good intergenerational family story, this series is also for them. And if you have adults who can't get enough nerd culture or fantasy in their lives, The Adventure Zone is for them.
So I'm so thrilled to go through some of our other titles. I'm going to focus on Of Swamp and Sea and Total THB, which are both series that we are coming out with in the next few years. Of Swamp and Sea is your next romantasy obsession. Think of A Court of Thorns and Roses meets Teen Wolf and meets Supernatural. A cursed transformation sparks a forbidden desire in a monster-filled world. When Mercy's father is killed by Mistwolf, she hires a monster hunter to take it down. But when the creature possesses her instead, she's suddenly battling for control over her own body and mind, while falling for the very man who promised to save her. It has enemies to lovers tension, dangerous chemistry on the open road, and that perfect Lore Olympus visual intoxication. And the best part is, it is a 5-book series with a book coming out every season. So readers can binge the complete series by early 2027. No waiting years between books. Total THB is a completely different thrill. Paul Pope's legendary sci-fi epic, originally self-published in the 90s, is back in print with a gorgeous new cover. This is a story of H.R. Watson, a precocious teenage girl on a colonized Mars whose inventor father created THB, a revolutionary shape-shifting robot that makes them the targets of a repressive government. It's playful, influential, and bursting with Pope's signature kinetic artwork. If your patrons missed it the first time, now is their chance to discover this piece of collectible comic book history. As you can see, we have some other fantastic books coming out that we would love for you to check out on Macmillan's website.
And now I'm going to end with, because we're just about out of time, a video from the best-selling award-winning author Julie Murphy. Taking us outside of the graphic novel space briefly here, we have a new trilogy launching this spring from Julie, The Undergrads. We will end with this video from Julie.
Hi, my name is Julie Murphy, and I am the author of way too many books, all the way from picture books to adult romance. And my most recent book that I'm so incredibly excited to share with you is Student Union. Student Union is a spicy new adult romance set at a university, and it follows Clover and Bennett. Clover is so excited to be starting her freshman year at the school of her dreams, and unfortunately she has just found out that her housing is no longer covered under a grant that she was approved for. And so Clover learns of a loophole within the housing department that if you are married, you can apply for non-traditional student housing at a discounted rate. And so only one other person that Clover knows attends Wexley University. It's her former childhood friend turned enemy, and she has no other option other than to propose to him. And so she asks Bennett if he will marry her, and because he is, a little bit in love with her, a little bit obsessed with her and also sort of hates her. He says yes because, he's doing it for the plot. And that's the story of Clover and Bennett, or at least that's where we find them, is on the day that they get married and on the verge of starting university. So I'm super excited to share this book because I had a really non-traditional college experience. I worked 40 to 50 hours a week. I was always taking as many classes as I possibly could because I was constantly strapped for money and I was just trying to get as much as I could out of every single semester. And I didn't live on campus. I wasn't part of Greek life or anything like that. But I always really envied that, that experience that a lot of people got to have. And so this book is sort of my tribute to the college experience I wish I had, while also honoring my own of a sort of non-traditional student. Just trying to navigate school and all of these new experiences and adulthood for the very first time. So I can't wait to share Student Union with you, and I hope you love it and enjoy Clover and Bennett as much as I did. Also, there's lots of grilled cheese, so much grilled cheese, this foreplay, which...
So thank you all so, so much for joining us for our preview of our adult titles. The second book in the Student Union series will be out this fall, and you'll receive more information in follow-up.
Thank you so much, Mary and Aaliyah. Next, we'll hear from Annie Mazes. Annie is the Associate Director of Library Marketing at Hachette. Some of her favorite books include The Orphan Master's Son and Lady Pancake and Sir French Toast. Thank you for being here today, Annie.
Thank you, Susan, Taylor, and Grace, and everyone at Booklist. Love Julie Murphy. Very excited. Also, I love that he's doing it for the plot. Tremendous. I'm Annie Mazes with Hachette Book Group. Please reach out if you have any questions about anything you hear about today. I'm happy to send you ARCs if I have them. Starting off strong with our first book, Treat Them as Buffalo. This is a riveting anti-Western from an exciting new Indigenous writer. It's set in 1885. Teenage boys are beginning to disappear from the Great Plains Métis community, and a young man attempts to uncover the evil force lurking just out of sight. Definitely has YA crossover potential. It's for fans of News of the World and Outlawed. There is a woman-led coalition of incredibly badass freedom fighters. Great read. Next, similar kind of vibes. Love this jacket. Babylon, South Dakota. This is from the author of the Carnegie Medal in Fiction winner, The Thousand Crimes of Ming Su. It is also set in the American West about a Chinese-American family trying to survive on their Dakota farm as a powerful and mysterious and very morally dubious military secret shapes their lives. Tom's writing is so good. The story of this family just trying to survive and, be good with their community and how they are affected by what the government is doing right next door. It will keep you reading. It's very propulsive. Next up, we have The Adventures of Juan Planchard, which is a huge literary phenomenon across Latin America in its original Spanish version. We are publishing this in English and Spanish simultaneously. It has become a symbol of opposition in Venezuela. It's a breathtaking blend of political commentary and cinematic thriller, complete with sex, drugs, money, ambition, greed, and corruption. It's being developed for the big screen. There's a lot that goes on here with this young man. But it's very, very riveting, very fast paced. Next up, we have Alan Opt Out. This is for readers of Ruthie Thorpe or Taffy Broadus actor. This is the story of an ad exec, Alan, who bombs the biggest pitch of his career, and so, bereft from that, decides to forego capitalism and live off the land of his fancy suburban Connecticut home. This is a very timely and comedic take on ambition, consumerism, the sticker price of privilege. It's from the author of, it's from an author who's known for her stealth comedic satires of the industrial happiness complex. If you take note, he does have a lobster on a leash. It is delightful. That perfectly sums up the quirkiness of this wonderful book. Great for book clubs. Next up is Valley of the Moms. This is Stepford Wives meets Big Little Lies, a very twisty thriller that uncovers the untruths, petty grievances, and local school politics underneath a seemingly quaint and very privileged small town. Just perfect beach reading. Also a great jacket. Next, we have, I packed a lot into this presentation, so I'm zooming through, but please reach out if you have any questions. Main characters, I found this book to be delightful. When Clara and Seb first cross paths in their 20s, it's the start of something very exciting for them. This is set over the course of 2 decades, and their love story unfolds, but it unfolds in the most clever, unique way. It's told through the eyes of everybody except for the main character. So it's told, one chapter is from their best friend, one chapter is from a boss of one of them, one chapter is from a parent or a sibling, one chapter is from a street performer, and it just gives you this really wonderful picture of these two people over the course of 2 decades, and it just moves so quickly. I just really found that premise to be very clever. It's great for book clubs for fans of David Nichols or Sally Rooney. Next is Get Lost by Justin Halpern. You might be familiar with Justin as the #1 New York Times bestseller of Shit My Dad Says. This is for fans of Carl Hiaasen or Elmore Leonard. It's a very fast-paced thriller about a young woman who reluctantly teams up with her deadbeat dad to find her missing mom, and along the way encounters unsavory Russian thugs, fat cat farmers, and an unseen enemy who always seems to be one step ahead. It's very fast-paced. It's very real and fun and funny, darkly funny. But it's also going to be a great beach read. Next is New People, which I learned a new term with this book. Frogging with a PH is the phenomenon of people living in your house unbeknownst to you, like in a crawl space or somewhere. And when this book was first presented to us, that is a part of what the narrative was, but it is so much more than that. Like, I thought that was like going to make this a creepy kind of a thriller. It's such a story about real people, and like desperation is making them. This couple live in this house unbeknown to the new couple who owns it, and I loved this, but it's heartbreaking, but I loved this book. It's domestic tension. This novel is told via two perspectives, between a young queer academic who's seeking a new start and the desperate former homeowner watching this new couple who've moved into her house. It's a discussion. This will be great for book clubs. Lots of discussion of privileged grief, generational tension, the battle between emotional and legal ownership. It's just so much more than just people creepily living in your house without you knowing. Next, we have Witch Below, The Dreaming Wood, from the author of The Magician's Daughter. This is a historical fantasy about a librarian and her connection to the Arthurian legend of the Lady of the Lake. 2 timelines, World War II England and ancient Camelot, weave together to form an intricate narrative that explores themes of nationhood, history, and myth-making. This is perfect for fans of the Everlasting and the Once and Future King. And last, for fiction, before we go to some nonfiction, is Reliquary. This is Hannah Witten's debut horror novel. She will keep writing the romantasy, which she is known for, but she's tapping into something new. We're going to a creepy island. There are rich people, which might be a new synonym for crazy. There are a bunch of dead people. This is great for readers of Our Wives Under the Sea. Next, we're going to switch over to some nonfiction with Make Believe. Mac Barnett is the U.S. National Ambassador for Young People's Literature and a New York Times bestselling, award-winning children's book author. Make Believe is a book for adults about books for children. This is a rallying cry for art and imagination and an invitation to approach children's literature not only as an art form worthy of deep study and criticism, but as a portal into the lives of children. Next, we have a personal favorite, The Ancient Myths and Legends Without Men. Expert classicist Mara Gold recenters the women at the heart of some of the world's most enduring myths and shines a new light on iconic figures like Medusa, Hera, Persephone, revealing the power, complexity, and agency that they have always had. Next is Black Freedom. This is the first fully illustrated history of Juneteenth and other Emancipation Day celebrations. It's told through beautiful photographs, art, and has an engrossing narrative from an award-winning historian. It includes striking imagery from commemorations such as parades, barbecues, marches over the last 150 years. Next is All the Feels. Pamela Pavlisak is a consultant and researcher who teaches emotionally intelligent tech design at Pratt Institute. This is Because Internet Meets Nancy Jo Sales' American Girls, and reveals the way that our emotional range and ability to name and communicate our feelings has actually expanded and deepened in the internet age. But it teaches how we can spend our online lives enriching our human connections rather than hurting them. Next is Mom Needs a Moment, for moms who find themselves losing their temper more than they'd like. Author and therapist Dr. Cassidy Freitas presents a radically simple way to help moms feel less reactive, more connected, and more like themselves, finding margins, the spaces we create mentally, emotionally, physically, that let us take a break and choose the way we want to respond. Next is Bio-Inspired. This fascinating natural history of modern humankind lays out a compelling case for how nature plays an outsized, yet largely unsung role in human progress and innovation. It weaves together science, history, philosophy, and cultural criticism with insight and intelligence and humor. It's a very accessible read for people who like the story behind and how innovation works and where good ideas come from. Next is Exhumed. From critically acclaimed podcaster and best-selling author Aaron Mahnke comes an engrossing and macabre exploration of the folklore and early medical practices that led to the New England vampire panic in the 1890s. This is a reverent view of science and history and the human condition, perfect for fans of Mary Roach's Stiff. And last but not least, The Wound is Where the Light Enters. In the vein of Righting My Wrongs, this is a memoir from a young man sentenced to life in prison who gave such a moving speech during his trial that the judge left his position and fought to free this young man. It shines a light on the prison industrial complex and shows how potential remains locked behind bars. Next is just the next slide I think has a QR code for some book club suggestions, along with reading discussion questions. There's a whole bunch of fiction and nonfiction. And that is it from me. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Annie. Next, we'll hear from Megan Brown. Megan is a publishing assistant at Page and Vine, where she supports publishing operations across editorial, publicity, marketing, and distribution. She previously worked in publicity at Macmillan St. Martin's Press. When she isn't working, you'll find her lost in her latest romantasy obsession. The floor is yours, Megan.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for that introduction. I'm so thrilled to be here today to walk you through some of Page and Vine's exciting upcoming releases. This season, we have a fun mix of returning fan favorites and debut authors that we can't wait to share with our readers. First up, we have Wicked Onyx. Go next slide. Thank you. This is the first book in a brand new dark academia romantasy series from USA Today bestselling author Debbie Cassidy. In Wicked Onyx, we meet Anna Maya, the last surviving member of a cursed sorcerer bloodline stripped of its powers for generations. After her mother's death, she discovers a life-changing secret. Her family didn't commit the crimes they were punished for. They were framed. The proof is hidden deep beneath Knightsbridge Academy, a lethal institution where the students are just as dangerous as the monsters they train to fight. Her mission is clear: find the ancient text, expose the ruling Imperium, and reclaim her legacy. Yet the deeper she digs, the more dangerous the Academy becomes. To succeed, she must navigate secret alliances, hidden threats, and a school full of the most powerful sorcerers. And as she fights to survive, she must also face her feelings for two men connected to the Academy, an attraction that could help her or destroy her. This story combines fan-favorite tropes like fated mates, hidden identity, and found family, with a slow burn romance layered over high stakes, magical intrigue, and rich world building. Next slide. Continuing Cassidy's momentum in the romantasy space, we have Gargoyles of Stonehaven, a multi-POV paranormal romance featuring a fierce female main character, fated mates, forbidden romance, found family, and an academy setting. This story follows Cam, a half-blood who's lived her whole life in the shadow of her pure-blood family. But her world shatters when her brother, an only ally, dies in what the Stone Council calls an accident. But she knows it was murder, and she's going undercover to prove it. She enters Stonehaven Academy, the brutal training ground for elite gargoyle warriors. Here, she navigates deadly rivals, hidden dangers, and a brutal world where even full-blooded gargoyles aren't guaranteed to survive. But she doesn't have to fight alone. Cam finds unexpected allies, including Sarath, the lethal team leader who also happens to be her fated mate. Their connection is magnetic, but strictly forbidden, bound by rules that say they can never be together. But the stakes are higher than romance, because the Stone Council is hiding a truth so dark it could destroy their world. Next slide. In the story we wrote, we meet Aspen Westgrove, a lifelong people-pleaser in Faircloud, Texas, with a secret dream of becoming a romance novelist. There's just one problem. She's never actually been in love. When she suddenly loses her job and her home, her dreams feel farther away than ever. Enter Boone Cassidy, the town's resident reformed bad boy. With his family farm in need of help, Boone offers her the keys to the farm stand and housing on the property, an offer she can't refuse. The only catch? The house is next door to Boone himself. What begins as an unexpected friendship soon sparks feelings neither of them saw coming. This is the ultimate shy bookworm meets rugged cowboy story, full of small-town charm, slow-burning romance, and a journey of self-discovery that will have readers hooked from the first page. Next slide. While Aspen and Boone's story kicks off the series, it's just the beginning of what this world has to offer. The Faircloud series invites readers into a world of small-town cowboy romance through interconnected standalones set in Faircloud, Texas, exploring love, loss, and the journey of finding home again. With emotional stakes, charming townsfolk, and swoon-worthy protagonists, this series offers a romance readers won't want to leave. With cowboy romance trending across Book Talk and Bookstagram, the Faircloud series perfectly captures the blend of grit, warmth, and heartfelt passions readers are craving right now. Next slide. Next, we have Good for Her by Tyler Page, a dark, high-stakes revenge thriller that flips the final girl trope on its head. 5 years ago, Evie Reyes watched her mother, a legendary horror icon, die on the set of the slasher film Simon Says. Now, Evie is back on that same studio lot, cast as the lead in the reboot. But she isn't looking for a breakout role. She's looking for blood. She has a hit list of 6 Hollywood elites responsible for her mother's death, and she intends to cross off every single one. Enter Sebastian Shaw, Hollywood's golden boy and Evie's first love. When he discovers her lethal agenda, he makes a deal. He'll provide the backstage access she needs to reach her targets in exchange for 6 chances to sleep with her, hoping she'll fall in love again. As on-set accidents spiral out of control, Evie must balance her thirst for revenge with the growing tension between her and Sebastian, all while walking a razor-thin line between survival and destruction. With the surge in popularity of shows like You and Dexter, as well as titles like Butcher and Blackbird, we're really excited to see Good for Her make a gory splash in the trad market. Next slide. Next, we have Wings of Life by Megan LaFay. The first of a planned trilogy, this epic romantasy debut launches the Dragonbound Chronicles, packed with danger, dragons, and slow burn attraction. In Wings of Life, we meet Saray, a sharp-tongued heroine whose family has traded her away as a political bride to their oldest enemy, the Kingdom of Ridland. She's been sent there to marry the High Dane's son, a marriage meant to seal a fragile peace. But Saray is no ordinary bride. She's a spy tasked with uncovering the kingdom's weaknesses from the inside. Armed with only a journal, a quill, and her wits, she navigates a land of ruthless warriors where magic runs deep and dragons hide in plain sight. The mission becomes dangerously complicated when she meets the kingdom's weapon master, who also happens to be her fiancé's brother. As he trains her, he awakens a forbidden desire that threatens the entire mission, With war looming, she must make a choice. Return to the family that discarded her or risk a traitor's death to protect a love and a power she was never meant to find. Next slide. Next up is Not a Strong Enough Word by Ali Samberts, a slow burn, second chance romance set in the publishing world. 5 years ago, Scarlet Fry was the most anticipated name in fiction, until she became its most famous cautionary tale. Burned out and crushed by impossible deadlines, she walked away from a $1 million deal, a massive book tour, and the man she loved, Ryan Whitlock. Now, after 5 years of healing, Scarlett has written a novel she's proud of and is determined to do things differently, including submitting the book under a pseudonym. But when her manuscript lands at Anastasia's Press, a subdivision of her old publisher, the editor who reads it is none other than Ryan, the man she never truly stopped loving. Ryan is instantly captivated by the book. It's raw, it's brilliant, and it feels achingly like the woman who disappeared on him years ago. As Scarlett and Ryan navigate past heartbreak, professional pressure, and unresolved feelings, they must decide if they can work together without letting old sparks and old wounds destroy them again. It's Beach Read meets The Proposal, a witty, heartfelt, slow burn romance that's unafraid to show the vulnerability behind success. Next slide. Moving into the broader Strong Enough series, this collection of 3 contemporary interconnected standalones offers a glamorous, messy, behind-the-scenes look at the publishing world, all tied together by one central location, Anastasia's Press. The series explores the intertwined lives of writers and editors as they navigate manuscripts, ambition, and the thin line between professional success and personal heartbreak. Each story offers a sharp insider's glimpse into the world of books, full of romance, drama, and emotion. Next slide. Returning to the fan favorite world of Pacific Shores, Tattered Tide kicks off the new Celestia Cove spin-off series. This is a gritty, emotional, second chance sports romance set against the sun-drenched backdrop of California surf culture. We follow Weston Ashford, a fallen surfing star trying to rebuild his life after a mistake cost him everything. Fresh out of prison and stripped of his medal, he's determined to stay focused until he meets Willow Graham. Willow has recently dropped out of university to piece her life back together after a trauma. When Willow's father becomes Weston's coach, the two are forced into close quarters. What starts as a high-tension rivalry evolves into an aching, slow-burn connection as they realize they're both drowning in the same grief. Next slide. Beneath Still Waters launches the brand new 3-part Tidehaven series, a romantic suspense set against the haunting beauty of South Carolina's coastal marshes, featuring fan favorite tropes like grumpy sunshine, protective hero, and small-town romance. We follow Emery Caldwell, a marine biologist escaping professional burnout with a sabbatical in the fishing village of Tidehaven. But her peaceful research trip turns deadly when she witnesses a crime she was never meant to see. Suddenly, Emery is the target of a deadly threat, and her only hope for survival is Reed Morgan, a former Navy SEAL who has spent years guarding himself from the past. He wants a quiet life at the local marina, but when Emery's life is at stake, his instincts take over. As they navigate the treacherous marshes to stay alive, the tension between them becomes just as dangerous as the secrets buried in the water. Next slide. Lastly, I want to leave you with a look at even more of our exciting upcoming titles, from brand new series by already beloved authors Jen L. Gray, Kay Cove, and Debbie Cassidy, to a new romantasy series from Book Talk favorite Eliza Rain, and the highly anticipated conclusion of the Kate May series. We have so many exciting releases to look forward to. Thank you so much, and please reach out with any questions.
Thank you so much, Megan. Next, we'll hear from Golda Rademacher. Golda is the Library Sales and Marketing Director for W.W. Norton and Company, which is the largest employee-owned independent book publisher in the United States. She lives in Michigan, and you can often find her buying too many books at the local independent bookstores. Check out her library newsletter for updates and art giveaways, and follow her on Instagram and Blue Sky at WW Norton Library. Take it away, Golda.
Thank you, Susan. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Here are my contact details and the publishers that we distribute. And then here are some highlights of our winter titles. Eat Your Ice Cream has been on the New York Times bestseller list, and we're really excited about the Planet Money book coming in April. And then I have some suggestions for your April Library Reads votes. And now for some spring-summer highlights. Next slide. Okay, there we go. Laura Vanderkam is a beloved time management and productivity expert. In her new book, Big Time, she uses original research looking at how hundreds of real people spend their time and her own experience of tracking her time for a decade to offer tactics for how to manage a complex life, stick with long-term projects by breaking big goals into tiny steps, and make the most of leisure time many people don't even notice. One of the time studies she did was actually with a librarian. Big Time is practical and encouraging. The book offers simple, tested advice with big impact. Instead of thinking of time as scarce and stressful, here's how to find more time in your life for the things you care about. James Lasdon is a novelist, but he also writes for The New Yorker. His article on the Murdaugh case was the most read story of 2023 at The New Yorker. In this new true crime book, The Family Man, Lasdon looks at Murdaugh through a series of revelatory perspectives that include recordings of Murdaugh's jail conversations, the literature of criminal psychology, and the murder trial itself. He creates a portrait of his subject and an immersive account of the psychological and social processes by which a seemingly loving family man became a family annihilator. And please note that he is coming to PLA. Ulysses S. Cat is the charming new book by the beloved NPR host Scott Simon. He warmly philosophizes on the unforgettable and utterly ordinary moments between species and highlights their joys, worries, love, and humor. Simon talks about a lifetime of remarkable, enduring relationships with pets, and he explores the difficulty of expressing the strong ties we feel. The kinship between humans and animals is more familial than owner, and more mutual than caregiver or guardian. His family has been really creative with their pet names over the years. Some examples are Bagel the hamster, Gato Blanco, Salmon Fishty, and the titular Ulysses S. Cat. The book is a lovely profusion of exuberant memories and musings on a life spent in animal company. Robert Macfarlane is the best-selling author of Is a River Alive? For his new book, The Book of Birds, he has teamed back up with Jackie Morris, who also illustrated his The Lost Words and The Lost Spells. In The Book of Birds, Macfarlane shows readers not just how to identify birds, but also how to identify with them. In lyrical essays, Macfarlane describes each bird's habits and habitats, their patterns of flight and patterns of song, how they hunt or fish or scavenge or gather, how they nest and raise their chicks, the myths that attend them, the threats that shadow them, and how their lives intersect with our own. Morris's beautiful artwork brings the birds to life in every chapter. This is a celebration of bird life and highlights the work that needs to be done to save them. Eric J. Dolan is one of our finest writers of maritime history, and his books always get good feedback. His new book, The Wreck of the Mentor, vividly reconstructs the American whale ship Mentor's doomed voyage, the dramatic moments of shipwreck, and the months of perilous captivity and negotiation that followed, while also introducing us to the broader context of an era in which global commerce and imperial ambition pushed Americans ever deeper into the Pacific. This is a powerful story of survival and a revealing window into the great age of sail, a time when maritime ambition collided with local sovereignty, and when the outcome of one voyage rippled across oceans and empires. This is Pemi Aguda's first novel after her collection of short stories Ghost Roots, which was a finalist for the National Book Award. One Leg on Earth touches on many topics, from class struggle to women's rights, to bodily autonomy, to rewriting your own past, all in a gripping narrative that makes you not want to look away. Something strange is haunting the pregnant women of Lagos, and it might have something to do with a glossy new development on land reclaimed from the ocean. The main character, Yasoye, finds herself stalked by a presence she can neither ignore nor appease without making her unborn baby, or without risking her unborn baby and her precarious hopes for the future. In One Leg on Earth, Pemi Aguda turns the question of who belongs in a city into an arresting exploration of what it means to be a mother in an unforgiving world and a haunting vision of the dark side of progress. Look What You Made Me Do is John Lanchester's fifth book with Norton. One of his previous books, Capital, was made into a miniseries. This is a social satire set in London about messy relationships, the dangers of modern technology, and a skewering of upper middle class pretensions and manners. A black comedy of love, trust, entitlement, and revenge. Look What You Made Me Do is a suspenseful story of two very different women and two very different generations in a battle only one of them can win. The Arcadian is Stephen Pressfield's follow-up to A Man at Arms, but you don't have to have read that one to get the story. This is a gripping, genre-bending story of a mercenary in late medieval Spain and the eternal costs of violence. Telamon of Arcadia and his horse are fated to live again and again, century after century, bound by the karma of violence and the wheel of reincarnation. Now, drawn into the brutal conflict between Portuguese invaders and Andalusian defenders, he must face both the battlefield before him and the eternal war within himself. The novel fuses the grit of historical realism with the mysticism of the ancient world. A meditation on fate, justice, and release from violence, the Arcadian asks not just how men fight, but why. The Devil and Mrs. Gooch is Oliver Darkshire's second novel after Isabella Nag and The Pot of Basil. Gwendolyn Gooch, the 6-foot, jack-booted entrepreneurial villain of Darkshire's debut, is the star of this one. Her villainy is so spectacular that she attracts the devil, who loses himself in her glorious capitalistic cruelty and becomes her lieutenant. Opposing them is a new protagonist, Professor Green, a scholar whose father runs the old wizarding establishment of Verdigris, and who would rather be left alone to study his books in the scriptorium. This book expands the universe of the books, kind of like Terry Pratchett did with his Discworld series. It has elements of both high and cozy fantasy and includes many creatures from British folklore. Those of us not on the West Coast and living in a snow-coated tundra are probably not thinking about making ice cream right now, but get ready for summer with Ice Cream Queen by Lokalani Alabanza. This cookbook is aimed at home cooks who either already have an ice cream machine or who have been looking for an excuse to buy one. She has both dairy and vegan recipes. You'll find classic recipes along with some really creative ones, like Nashville hot chicken, Juneteenth sorbet, chocolate-covered kettle chip, and more. And she dives deep into the untold stories of Black ice cream makers and entrepreneurs who have shaped American food culture for generations. Cooking from Scratch is Toya Bodie's second cookbook. She has been on the Today Show numerous times and the Tamron Hall Show and some others. Drawing inspiration from Melinda Russell's groundbreaking 1866 cookbook, Bodie reimagines simple, soul-satisfying dishes designed to bring people together. Beyond the table, she shares 20 natural remedies, from herbal cough syrup to detox lentil soup, that nourish body and spirit alike. Bodie was born and raised in New Orleans and started cooking from the age of 8. The recipes in this book are perfected family dishes that shaped her childhood and define Southern cuisine. And here are some more summer highlights, including a book on soap operas called Love in the Afternoon, librarian and TikToker Haley DeRoche's first book, Dress Your Baby in Sage and Taupe, and one of the new titles in a line of manga being published by Fantagraphics. And here's my contact information again. Please check out our catalogs on Edelweiss and reach out if you need anything. And thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much, Golda. Finally, we'll hear from Margot McCoy. Margot is the library marketing coordinator at Macmillan. After graduating from the University of Central Florida with a double major in writing and rhetoric and advertising public relations, she attended the Columbia Publishing course. In 2021, she started working in Macmillan as an assistant for the library marketing, academic marketing, and wholesale teams. She then spent 2 years as the coordinator for the academic marketing team and is now back on the library side. Her favorite genres include literary fiction, mysteries and thrillers, and fantasies. Born and raised in Florida, she now lives in New York. Thanks for joining us, Margot.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Margot. I'm with Macmillan. On the screen are all of the ways you can get in touch with us online. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions about any of the titles I'm talking about today. Next slide. Many of the titles we'll be talking about already are or will be available to read on Edelweiss. So if you're not already whitelisted for automatic downloads, send us an email at the email address on the screen and we'll get you all set up. Next slide. And please feel free to join us on Mondays at 4 p.m. for our Happy Half Hour series, where we talk about all of the upcoming books we're excited about. Next slide. Next slide. Oh, and be sure to check out our Big Book Club resource guide, where you can stay up to date with book club news, sweepstakes, discussion guides, and more. Now on to the books. First up is The Hill by Harriet Clark. After her mother is sentenced to life in a hilltop prison for a bank robbery committed with fellow radicals, Susanna grows up caught between the prison gates and the home of her grandmother, an unforgiving woman surrounded by her aging Communist Party friends. While Susanna vows to return to the prison forever, her mother desperately wants her to be free from the cycle of punishment that has tied the fates of 3 generations together. This debut novel is a tale of a child growing up between worlds and a family broken apart by a desire for change. It's also based on truth. Harriet Clark's mother was incarcerated for being an accomplice in the 1981 Brinks robbery, and years later, she received support from many because of her well-regarded character, and she was released on parole. Next slide. Next is How to Find a Guy in 5 Weddings by Cynthia Timoti. This is a 27 Dresses meets Sonia Lawley's The Matchmaker's List. Kimiko doesn't believe in love. Happy endings only exist in fairy tales. But when her late grandmother's will states that she must settle down in order to inherit her yarn store, she hatches a plan to find an unsuspecting guy to temporarily date her until the store is hers. When Rob, a perpetual groomsman and staunch believer in happy endings, overhears her scheme, he's baffled. He decides that he is determined to prove her wrong by playing matchmaker to find her soulmate at one of the next 5 weddings he's attending. This is set in the same world as Cynthia's last book, Salty, Spice, and a Little Bit Nice. And it's got a matchmaker crush and a grumpy sunshine dynamic, and she is the grumpy one. Next slide. Next is Good Joy, Bad Joy by Mickey Brammer. Following her best friend's terminal diagnosis, 80-year-old rule follower Joy realizes she hasn't lived boldly enough and embarks on a series of funny hijinks and petty crimes to reclaim her life, discover who she was always meant to be, and make the most of the time that they have left together. But as she considers the legacy she wants to leave behind, she must decide whether or not there's a way to embrace the liberation of bad joy without losing everything she holds dear. This is a heartwarming story of female friendship over the decades, late in life self-discovery, the lengths we will go to for love, grief, and what it means to have a life well lived. Next up is The Fake Divination Offense by Sarah Rausch. Library Reads author Sarah Rausch is back with a sports romance that's been given a Dungeons & Dragons makeover, set in the same world as the entanglement of rival wizards, and features fake dating, forced proximity, and forbidden love. Auric Monroe is a half-giant defensive tank on the Philadelphia Hellhounds who is tired of following Urzoth, the god of aggression, and Alexo Warden is a cheerleader with a stadium's worth of secrets. When Auroch saves Alexo in the public, fans go wild for them, and it's not long before the Hellhounds propose a PR relationship to put a positive spin on Auroch's god. Auroch agrees, and as their fake relationship starts to turn real, Alexo's dangerous truths emerge, and Auroch will have to sacrifice more than his divine association to save him. Next up. Next slide is Tell Your Friends by Lauren Wilson. In this psychological thriller, a former child star arrives at university determined to dismantle her mother's exploitative family vlog channel, only to collide with an envious fan who is desperate to stop her and keep the family's carefully curated image from shattering. As shocking secrets emerge, she realizes what's really at stake and must decide who to trust before her quest for freedom costs her more than just her fame. With popular YouTube channels, family channels in the news, and documentaries and memoirs getting released about the sinister side of online child stardom, Tell Your Friends is a timely story that explores social media culture, parasocial relationships, and twisted female friendships. Next up is Man of My Dreams by Olivia Worley. Ivy Harcourt is a successful writer with a sad relationship track. She's pretty sure there are no good men left in New York until she runs into Liam. He's good-looking, charming, British, an architect, the exact same person as the love interest in her next book. When an instant connection leads to a whirlwind romance, Ivy is convinced that she's found the perfect man. But is he too good to be true? This dramatic book has a romance premise wrapped up in a thriller. It's a delicious blend of twisty suspense and a fresh contemporary take on the genre. It really is stranger than fiction. Next up is The Traveler by Joseph Eckert. This follows a man who inexplicably begins traveling forward in time, at first for 24 hours, then 48 hours, then 4 days, then 8 days, with the distances increasing exponentially each time. As the distances get longer and the years start to pass him by, his wife is left to pick up the pieces of the life they once shared. And his once 7-year-old son, genius son, solemnly promises that he will save his father and bring him back, and dedicates the rest of his life to becoming a scholar of quantum physics. So this is a tale of an extraordinary father-son dynamic and how it grows, changes, and even survives across millennia. Fans of Interstellar and Dark Matter will like this one. Next up is In Deep Water by Michael J. Tugias. On October 8th, 2022, 3 friends were fishing 15 miles out in the Gulf of Mexico when their boat began to take on water and sink, leaving them in a 28-hour fight for survival. Unable to signal for help and without cell service, they only had time to put on life jackets and cling to a cooler as they were swept further out to sea. Battling hypothermia, jellyfish stings, and circling sharks, they made a pact to stay together no matter what. This is the hour-by-hour account of their struggle for survival, as well as the Coast Guard's high-stakes rescue mission. Based on interviews with the survivors and the crew of rescuers, this is the incredible true story of bravery and resilience in the battle against some of the ocean's deadliest predators. If you're a fan of Shark Week, like me, this is a book you will definitely want to pick up. Next up is Little Wild by Laura Evans. If you've ever wished that Atonement had witches, this is for you. This debut is set in 1937 at a crumbling estate in the English countryside. Preparations for a party are in full swing, but the party masks a secret. Joni, the daughter of the house, and her closest friend Margaret plan to leave their stifling society to live together in London as lovers. When they're discovered, Margaret is banished to a cabin in the woods. Her dreams turn dark, and she wakes with strange injuries, suggesting a powers awakening in her, perhaps the same one that led to her mother's death after she was accused of being a witch. If she can harness power, she might be able to secure the love she craves, but at what cost? This is a haunting feminist fairy tale with a gothic feel, compelling protagonist, and eerie and supernatural twists, and it'll linger with you long after you finish. Next slide. Next is Long Island Girls by Gabrielle Korn. In 2005, a chance meeting on the Long Island Expressway sparks a connection between indie rock-obsessed Susan and the beautiful, enigmatic Eliza. Their brief encounter ends in combustion when Susan recognizes Eliza as the victim of a nude photo. 10 years later, a run-in on a dating app finally leads to a relationship, but Eliza is plagued by her traumatic past, which is tied to people still in Susan's life, and everything falls apart again. Over the next few years, as Susan's music career takes off and she meets someone new, she remains haunted by the what ifs of a life with Eliza. This is a tender, steamy, and authentic coming-of-age story and queer romance about the struggle to let go of the past. With unforgettable characters and early 2000s nostalgia, this will be good for fans of Normal People, Deep Cuts, and Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. Next up is Sisterhood After All by Kathleen Barber and Amaya Shan. After starting school at Southern State University, Ava is determined to join the most exclusive sisterhood at Southern State University, the Gammas, because it's the last connection she has to her late mother. But they don't let anyone in. They don't let just anyone in. Every new prospective pledge is expected to earn their spot, and the Gamma president has a special test for Ava. Rival sorority Theta nips at the Gamma's heels to become the top sorority on campus after their president rises above the competitiveness of the other houses in an attempt to change the Greek system from the inside. But she's made some enemies in doing so, and she has no idea just how far someone will go to become a Gamma. So if you're a fan of Scream Queens or Greek or Rush Talk, this will be one that you'll want to pick up. Next up is Destination Funeral by Paige Harbison. When four once inseparable and now estranged friends reunite for their former matriarch's funeral on a stormy coastal Georgia island, they expect a quick, awkward weekend of nostalgia and grief. They instead wake up trapped in a time loop, repeating the same Saturday over and over again, and with no end and no way off the island, they're forced to confront the betrayals and secrets that shattered them years ago. If they can't make peace with the past or each other, they may never get to leave. Next up is The Secret Dinner by Rafael Montes. Four childhood friends, eager for a taste of city life, swap rural Brazil for an apartment in Copacabana, Rio. But they have no idea of the fate that awaits them there. Needing to make money so they can keep their apartment, they adopt an unorthodox plan and are soon sucked into a deep world of secret dinner parties catering to the twisted fantasies of Rio's elite. As their plan spirals out of control, stakes get higher and the consequences get deadlier, threatening not only their friendship, but also their lives. Next up. Next is Dreamland by Olivia Blake. It's LA summer, and girls are being murdered, and the Santa Ana winds are blowing a strange energy into the city. Desperate to escape her mother and a stagnant acting career, Anya Morris accepts an invitation to work for an influential film dynasty family. At their strange villa in the Hollywood Hills, she meets Jude, the family's reclusive heir and most closely guarded secret. And despite warning signs, she cannot resist his magnetism. But the villa holds a bloodstained history and an occult family curse, and when Anya comes face to face with a devil of her own, she'll learn just how far she's willing to go to get everything she ever wanted. And last up is The Minimalist by Kaylee Peterson. This is a gruesome and unsettling psychological horror drama that paints a darkly lucid portrait of a classical composer's descent into madness, and a harrowing examination of loss, torment, mental illness, and self-destruction. This is a genre-blending Gothic story that seamlessly blends disturbing, contemplative, psychological drama with the gruesome, merciless horror that Kaylee Peterson is known for. And although the acts of this book are entirely fictional, Peterson draws upon her own experiences as an adoptee and a classical musician to craft a story that is harrowingly real, even as the main character descends further into madness and self-destruction. And that is it from me. Please reach out if you have any questions, and I hope you've enjoyed these books. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Margot, and a big thank you to all of today's presenters. Tomorrow, all attendees will receive an email containing links to today's slide presentation, title list, certificate of completion, and video recording. For more about Booklist webinars, be sure to visit booklistonline.com/webinars, where you can view archives of past webinars and register for upcoming ones like those you see here. You can also find out about the latest webinars on our social channels. Visit us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Blue Sky. Booklist is thrilled to announce that our popular Reader's Advisory Workshop series is back this year. Scan the QR code on the screen or head over to our website to register for this free event on March 18th, featuring 3 stellar one-hour presentations covering Reader's Advisory for History, a deep dive into Romantasy, and an exploration of the 4 cornerstones of reader interest. Hope to see you there. 150 years of empowering library professionals, advancing access to knowledge, and protecting the freedom to read. Since 1876, the American Library Association has embodied America's aspiration for knowledge and democracy, championing the professionals who make the promise real every day. Scan the QR code on the screen or visit ala150.org to learn how you can join us in helping shape the next 150 years of libraries. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. One more huge thank you to our panelists and to our sponsors, Macmillan Publishers, Hachette, Page and Vine, WW Norton and Company, and Macmillan Library Marketing. This concludes today's webinar. See you next time.